Okay, let's begin slightly. Good afternoon, dear Viktor. It's a great honor for us to interview you today. That is why let me briefly introduce you to the conference participants. Dear audience, Viktor Bruce is a doctor of physics and semiconductors and electrics, and a very great teacher who has taught in different countries of the world, such as Ukraine, Germany, the United States of America, and Kazakhstan. It's worth noting that in 2020, Viktor defended his doctoral dissertation at the Institute of Materials Science of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine on the topic of solid-state electronics. And at the moment, Viktor is a teacher at Nazarbayev University. And so, Viktor, based on your biography, we noticed a very narrow term, solid-state electronics. First of all, can you explain in an accessible way what it is and how it affects the world around us?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for a nice introduction. So, besides teaching, I was also in all these countries doing research and continue actively to do research. That's kind of important part to combine research at the cutting edge and modern teaching to achieve highest possible efficiency. And indeed, my field of research is closely related to solid-state electronics and physics of semiconductor devices. So in the definition of solid-state electronics is electronic devices which can work as some switches or like some valves for water, which can turn on and off a water flow, what we do mechanically. So similar in analogy to electric current, we can do with different electronic devices. And what is special about solid-state electronics is that these electronic devices are made from solid-state semiconductor materials. That makes big importance here because going from these vacuum tubes, which was the fundamental of our electronic prior development of solid-state electronics, we can make things much smaller and much more energy efficient. So they work faster, they consume less energy, and allow us to make really a difference in our life. So I would say that from point of view of many researchers and also from my point of view, there are two maybe events which allowed our humankind to reach to this level of nowadays technology which we live in and experience in everyday life. So first, probably no one knows for sure when it happened, when we start to handle fire. And second is invention of solid-state electronic device, which is called transistor. So it's actually this valve which can turn on and off electric current with very high speed, and it can be miniaturized and embedded in microelectronic circuits. So that is probably one of the main inventions of humankind, and that happened in 1947, led by three researchers in Bell Labs in the United States, Shockley, Bardeen, and Brattain. So these guys really made a huge contribution because if you ask me where is the proof for the statement that this is one of the most important invention of humankind, I would say if you look at your laptop or your smartphone, there are minimum billions of proofs for this statement because all modern IT, electronics is based on solid-state electronic devices, in particular semiconductor transistors.
Wow, it sounds really astounding, and you explained it so well. This is why so well that I wanted to go into this topic by myself deeply. Okay, and
you're welcome.
Okay, and going into the details, can I ask you what is the basis of your scientific work related to this topic, and why is it relevant, and how does it help the society?
Sure. So obviously that was the start of solid-state electronics, and now it developed in many different fields and branches. So in particular, my field of research is related with solar cells, which some semiconductor devices which convert sunlight into electricity and can be considered as one of the most important source, like renewable energy source nowadays. Not single, but one of the most important. And also optoelectronic devices, means some photodiodes, some sensors, which can detect very weak pulses of light and convert them to electrical signals. So they are similar in terms of physical processes to solar cells, because we also convert some energy of photons, this photon like particles of light, into electric current, but the requirements for these devices is a bit, they are a bit different. However, my field of research is directly connected to this. We call them optoelectronic devices, where we combine light and electricity in these solid state semiconductor devices. And if we talk about how important it is and what is the contribution to the process of making our world a better place, I would say, looking on recent events, like some extreme climate events during 2020 or even this year, we have seen, unfortunately, very many evidence of extreme climate change and devastating weather conditions, from extreme cold weather in Texas, extreme heat in British Columbia, in Canada, also unprecedented flooding in Western Germany, and so on and so far. It's all over the planet, and that is obviously related to excessive ejection of green gases as a result of human activity. And one of the main sources of this bad environmental impact is our energy sector. So generation of electricity consumes quite a lot of fossil fuels, which has very bad effect on long term on our environment. So search and improvement of renewable energy sources such as photovoltaics, search for new materials, and providing options to improve their performance really makes a contribution in terms of widespreading this field of renewable energy sources.
That's great, and now I definitely know what to say on my global perspective lessons because it's very correlated to SDG 17, as I think, and there are exactly lots of relevant topics in it. It's like a bridge to help the whole humanity. And in the regards of students, of knowledge at all, I know that you work according to a certain curriculum in Nazarbayev University. And can you tell us about your methods, which in your opinion can help students to understand the material maybe more easily, or what is necessary for you and the student to understand each other? Do you have maybe special ways to do that, special approach?
Well, so that is an interesting question, and it really depends on the number of students in your class. So now I mostly teach really large classes. I have like over 100 students per each section, and there it's very specifically taking into account nowadays conditions for online teaching. It's very difficult to keep students engaged in the process. So the best fact that students will provide certain suggestions for next step in explanation of that topic which we deal with. Depends on conditions, on topic, how well it can be organized, but I believe that from side of the lecturer, that's the best approach to keep students kind of involved in the teaching process, so they feel that they also contribute to the process and being engaged in the communication with the professor. If you deal with smaller classes, that usually with students already at maybe third, fourth year of their study, my personal strong belief that those students who are looking for challenges, who are willing to really get maximum from their education at university, they should gain some hands-on experience in doing research, because bringing student to a lab, that's probably the best challenge you can provide to a student, because it's not only some theoretical information which you get on lectures, but that's real life, and real life experience in research is the most valuable, and it is one of the key value which will be evaluated later when you apply for some PhD programs or apply for a job. So I believe that combination of cutting edge research in your lab with your teaching, that is the best option possible.
It's really commendable, and I think very qualitative approach, very individual in the regards of any group, of each group that you teach. And that is why I would like to ask about your whole work experience. Can you tell about that, please? And maybe do the approaches to teaching physics differ in different universities around the world, in different countries where you have taught? Because I know that you have a very, very great experience in it.
Well, yeah, so sure, there are different approaches, and we probably should start from the origin of this difference, and that is the difference in the educational systems. We are talking about higher education, I mean, education at university level. So, for instance, if we compare such countries as United States and Germany, there we should understand that there is a huge difference in the approach. First of all, you get kind of education in German universities kind of for free. So, of course, it's not free. It's all paid by taxpayers in terms of high taxes, which they are paying. However, this approach means that they accept all students who apply to universities, so you don't have entering exams. But over time, the percent of those students who fail the program and cannot make it to go to the next level is very high. So over time, many students are kicked out, and competition for these available places is extremely high. So in United States, it's a bit different system, of course, because you need to pay for education quite a lot. It's very expensive opportunity to go to university in the United States. And their students, of course, they are treated a little bit softer, and they are not struggling every day for literally surviving at university. So, of course, that has a great impact on the overall experience students and professors have during the educational process. And eventually, there are also benefits and disadvantages for each system. Honestly, now at Nazarbayev University, we are trying to combine the best from all systems. And the idea is that students can get grants from the country, so they can study for free. However, we implement all these approaches and interactions between professors and students, which are commonly acceptable in Northern America, like United States and Canada. So let's see how it goes. Of course, we need to adapt to our local conditions, but we are in the process of trying to take the best from different systems and implement here at Nazarbayev University.
I think it's well done, and I think that it's a very, very surpassing implementation, because there are lots of advantages of different curriculum in the whole world. And this is why, what do you think is the main advantage and the main failure in the curriculum and teaching system today? in Kazakhstan particularly, especially in comparison with other countries, for instance, maybe. I think maybe this question is too provoking, but let's be honest.
So, well, obviously there are disadvantages, and the main disadvantage of Kazakhstan, like higher education in Kazakhstan, I believe that Kazakhstan, as many other countries from, let's say, post-Soviet countries, they are in the process of establishment. They are in the process of changes, and that is probably the toughest time for countries and individual sectors, including higher education. So you need to go from old system to new, which is not probably 100% defined, because you want to find a combination of established systems from the West and from the East and find what will work the best for you in your country. And this way to the plan is very challenging, and there are many unexpected problems to overcome. So that, of course, is a disadvantage, because programs and approaches are constantly changing. However, at this point, I believe for those professors who are interested in contributing in this changing, it's a great opportunity. So maybe for students, it's more challenging because they need to adapt always to new conditions. However, from side of professors, I would ensure you that we are doing all our best to make sure that it will be most efficient, and you will get out from these programs the most. So it's always changing and adapting process, which hopefully will lead us to a successful implementation of efficient educational system.
Wow, it's really sensible and rational. This answer is really amazing. And going back through the questions about your experience, I would like to ask the lesson that you learned from the experience of working at universities, because I know that maybe looking through different traditions, looking through different nationalities and their approaches at all, you can just make your own judgment about some things, and that is why maybe you have some particular lesson that you learned, especially in working at universities.
Yeah, sure. That's a great experience trying to teach and do research in different places all over the world. So I would say, of course, there are many aspects of social interaction, of culture, but honestly, there's passion to knowledge, to learn and to produce new knowledge. That is quite common for all ambitious young people all over the world, and I wouldn't say that there are any differences in this desire to become a successful student first, and then a successful scientist or engineer. The thing is that common issue, what I see in students, specifically in this undergraduate education, before they go to master and physics programs. Unfortunately, students don't focus too much attention on understanding the fundamental principles. So it's a bit becomes quite common trend everywhere, not only at Nazarbayev University, but in all other places, that you see the goal, you see exactly what you need to do to get high grade, and that's what you focus the most. It's quite understandable. Of course, high grades matter a lot in your career. However, I believe as much as possible, students should focus on broader understanding of their field. So probably they may feel that something is not relevant for their future career. However, time will show, and life is quite long, that powerful and reliable basement in the fundamental understanding of your field. That is the key to success in the future, and that what will have a chance to stand for you as a young professional to stand out among the crowd of other competitors for some positions in the future, because this background should be established as soon as possible and as firmly as possible. So that I would like to point your attention to in the near future, because these 4 years, that's the best time to establish broad understanding of your field. Unfortunately, when you go already to higher steps of education, like master and PhD program, there you will focus on your niche research, and it will not be, believe me, you will not have time to get broader view on this picture. You will focus on your project. That's what you have. Everyone does this, and this valuable time can be lost. So in order to get maximum out of it, should always remember that broader understanding is very important.
It's very impressive. I think everyone in the audience should remember these words when especially they enter the...
I hope for that.
Yeah. Okay. And going like to the universities, should students enroll in Nazarbayev University? And maybe generally, what can you say about the university where you teach?
Yeah. So far, I experienced like very positive interaction with Nazarbayev University at all levels, starting from organization of educational and research. You can see this is the new lab, like state-of-the-art lab for device characterization, which I established with support of Nazarbayev University. And we involve, just right before our meeting, we had a short group meeting with PhD and undergraduate students who are interested in doing research on these projects, which are going to be carried out in the lab. So we create a really all necessary conditions for high academic performance of students in terms of teaching at the highest possible level, and also integrate them from very early time, from early beginning of their undergraduate program. Of course, if they are interested, so it's all advertised, and they are invited to contact professors of their field of interest, try different professors. So it doesn't mean if you start with one professor, it should be until the end of your undergraduate program. Of course not. You should try probably several professors, several different groups, and figure out what is the most important for you and interesting in terms of research, and also personal communication with the supervisor and the group, because that also has a big impact on your performance and general mood and feeling of this working environment. So that is very important step. And what is important at Nazarbayev University is that all these options are provided to all our students. So they can learn from active professors and active researchers and contribute to cutting edge research at our labs around campus. They can be involved in these processes from early beginning of their study and build up their CV, which is important for next steps.
Thank you for your very fully fledged answer. Yeah, I think that lots of people just knew something more about the Nazarbayev University. And regarding to the students, okay. Can you say the most interesting students you have met during the whole life, or maybe particularly in Nazarbayev University?
Well, that's actually a difficult question, because I believe all students are unique in them some way, and definitely all of them have some unique features in terms of their advantages and strong sides, which they should actively develop. That's my strong advice, to make even themselves even better in this field specific where they are already good. That will give a chance to stand out. And all students great. They should be supported in their efforts to establish career in industry or academia. That's what should be defined for each student. And nowadays, talking about Nazarbayev University, unfortunately, because of these quarantine conditions, I have taught probably for this 1 year of my staying at Nazarbayev University, probably several hundreds of students, and I didn't have a chance to meet with them personally. So that is a big challenge and a problem. Hopefully soon we will overcome this issue, and this personal teaching experience and learning experience, we will benefit all from this. So it will be much easier to establish closer connections with students. I do believe that hopefully we will come back to normal life.
You have a very deep and great point of view, and I fully agree with all that you say. And that is why I would like to ask, what advice would you give to those who enter a profession related to physics? Because I know that like physics professions and something that is connected to it is very, very relevant nowadays. And actually, people just want to know more about some innovative technologies, and maybe they may face with some difficulties, with some issues. And can you give them advice to overcome this, to tackle with some problems?
Sure. So you mentioned correctly that nowadays, specifically highlighting these extreme changes in climate, which are apparent to us on everyday life experience everywhere. Also, recent achievements in space exploration and space technology, it all attracts quite a lot of attention of young people, and they become more interested in novel technologies, engineering solutions for more convenient life, and also in some emerging markets.
Yep. Okay, that's right. Okay, I repeat the question shortly. What advice would you give to those who enter a profession that is related to physics?
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. And I believe that nowadays achievements in new technologies, they attract curious minds of young people. And definitely physics is one of the key field of STEM, which puts you closest to these new technologies and achievements in fundamental science. So if you have interest in physics and believe that could be your profession in future, which doesn't mean if you're a physicist, you can afterwards change your profession to anything you want. Believe me that there are many examples of physicists very successful in different fields of human activity. However, if you are at this current stage when you need to decide where to study, decide that physics is interesting, and you consider, for instance, Nazarbayev University as an opportunity for you, then I would tell you, don't have any doubts, come to us, and that will be really a great time for your learning, research, and fun activity during your years at Nazarbayev University. So we have very good department of physics with a broad range of research interests of our faculties, and here you will get the best possible education comparable to the top level all over the world. So focus on fundamental things. So general physics comes first, and that not for nothing, because that provides you the basement of your understanding of physics. So don't try only to solve problems to get high grades. You also need to spend time to understand the concepts and be able to explain them to other people, because that will show how you indeed understand it. So that will help you in future, because nowadays in competitive world, you will always need to present your results in the highest possible quality. You will need to convince people, need to know how to talk to people and how to express your point of view, specifically in your professional field. So that is important. Ask questions. Don't avoid such an opportunity. Ask questions, and asking question in a proper formulation is also a challenge which you need to overcome at your early years at university, because that also learns you how to put your thoughts in a concrete and understandable format, which will be clearly accepted and processed by other colleagues or professors, and that will give you a good experience for future.
Okay, thank you very much for this effective life hack, as I said. Yeah, and you share this topic with such great, enormous interest. This is why I would like to ask, did you know from your childhood that you wanted to connect your life with physics, or did it happen unexpectedly?
Well, that's an interesting question. So honestly, I would say from my childhood until maybe 14, 18 years, I didn't have some established plan for my future, as I believe majority of kids. Probably would be better if I was more focused on something and studying. I remember my mom was always telling me that you should know at least what's going on in the light bulb. And I believe I could claim that I do know now what's going on there. So at least I fulfill that requirement. And later, probably excited by this project to understand what's going on there, a bit later.
Excuse me, can you repeat your last words, please? Because we have a very poor internet connection now. I think that Viktor is not available now. Okay, like audience, can you hear me? Am I having?
Fine, for sure. Oh, okay. So now it starts to record. Okay. So for sure, I was not 100% sure about my career path when I was a kid, and I believe that majority of kids, they kind of not well defined in this planning of their future career. That's normal, how it probably should be. However, the best option is to define what is interesting for you as early as possible, get as much understanding of that field as you can, and then it will be easier to define what is good for your career, because obviously we will make some choices which are based on understanding that what we know the best probably is the best for us. So not necessarily true, but if you know already something well, I believe that will help you to make the right decision. So try to get some interest and focus in something as early as possible. What I probably didn't do in my childhood, but that could be always, there's no limit of perfection, and you can always do better.
Oh, yeah, this is very important, and I think even crucial for our youth, which extends and maybe spreads themselves to those things that are not even needed.
True.
Because for people like me, this answer is very indispensable because it gives hope for maybe a bright future for us. Yeah. And according to your future plans, first of all, I would like to ask, do you have maybe in your plans the ultimate goal of the scientific path? For example, the Nobel Prize, or maybe something that is very, very vital for you?
Well, sure. You need to plan your career, and I would say the short-term plan is to establish my device fabrication and characterization labs, so they are up and running. So I already have one PhD student. There is also one undergraduate student who is in my group. I got funding for 2 projects which are related to ionizing radiation. So I believe that we will be able to hire 2 postdocs for these projects also, and that will be the process of building up the research group, which is very important. So that is short-term plan. Long-term plans, they are less defined, but for sure do great research, teach students, new generations of students who will hopefully will not hate me and will prefer to join my group in the future. Obviously, what a soldier who doesn't dream to become a general, Nobel Prize, if I get it, invitation, I will for sure not refuse from it.
We believe in you with our heart, and I think
you are very much.
You're very versatile and a reasonable, sensible person, and there are no reasons, I think, to hate you. Yeah. And our interview is coming to an end. That's why I would like to suggest you to continue some statements you have begun concerning your subject, and you can answer it either in a short or in a full way. Can you just accept this suggestion? Okay, the first statement is, if everyone knew physics at a sufficient level, then he or she, and then continue.
You know, there is a saying that that person who knows physics will not disappear in this life. So I believe that is true, so I strongly support this statement.
Then, if I had the opportunity to go for an internship anywhere in the world, then I would visit.
Oh, yeah, I believe people focus on most known tech companies like Google, Microsoft, Apple. So that probably should be the top priority goal. But if you choose between doing internship and not doing internship, for sure go for internship. Doesn't matter where.
Yeah, very, very right answer. Okay, and the last one. If I went back to the past when I was a student at school, I would?
Probably I would listen more carefully to my mathematics teacher when I was in 7th grade. Yeah, that's for sure.
Wow, okay. Thank you very much for such a meaningful, full-fledged interview. And we are very glad and hope that the participants of the conference have learned something new for themselves. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. If they want to learn more, they come to Nazarbayev University and find my lab.
Okay, thank you for the invitation. I think that I will accept it.
Thank you for invitation. It was a pleasure to speak.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Have a good evening.